I'm excited to uncover some things that even someone who's pretty familiar with Einstein, maybe like myself,
Okay.
might not know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that, someone who really revolutionized our understanding of the universe
Yeah.
actually had a tough time in like traditional education.
Really?
Yeah. He found the rote learning style kind of stifling, but he got a compass from his dad as a gift when he was young.
Ah,
And that sparked a lifelong fascination for him with unseen forces shaping our world.
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing how something so simple can kind of set someone on their path.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
later worked at the Swiss Patent Office,
Right.
and it's kind of mind-blowing to me that during his time there, he published 4 groundbreaking papers in 1905.
Is Annus Mirabilis.
Yeah. What was so groundbreaking about them?
Well, they weren't just like small steps forward. I mean, these papers actually challenged existing scientific ideas.
Wow.
So, like the paper on the photoelectric effect explained how light, which we thought of as a wave,
Uh-huh.
also behaves like a particle.
Oh, okay.
This kind of duality became like a foundation of quantum mechanics, which is a completely different way of thinking about physics than classical physics.
I see. And then there's Brownian motion,
Right.
which is, that seemingly random movement of particles in a fluid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember learning about this, but like, what did Einstein's work on this do for our understanding?
Well, before Einstein, the atomic theory was still kind of debated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So his explanation of Brownian motion actually gave really solid proof that atoms and molecules existed.
Oh, yeah.
So it solidified this theory's place in science. Like imagine the tiny things that make up everything around us,
Yeah.
confirmed by these tiny movements.
That's so wild. It's amazing how he, like, connected seemingly unrelated things to figure out some profound truths about the universe.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have special relativity,
Yeah.
which is like what was so unique about his approach to understanding space and time with this.
So special relativity was a radical shift from Newtonian physics. What Einstein proposed was that space and time aren't absolute,
Okay.
but they're relative to the observer's motion.
Interesting.
So imagine you have two people,
Okay.
one standing still and one moving really fast.
Okay.
Their experiences of time and distance would actually be different.
Oh, wow.
So this shattered our understanding of the universe as like this fixed and unchanging thing.
Okay. So now for the equation that like everyone knows, EMC-TFL.
Yes.
Can you unpack this a little bit? Explain its wider implications.
Sure. So this equation showed the connection between energy and mass, demonstrating that they can be converted into each other.
Okay.
This laid the foundation for understanding nuclear energy, both its power, as we see in atomic bombs,
Mhm.
but also its potential as a source of energy.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just a theory. It had massive real-world implications.
It's really remarkable how these 4 papers, published all in 1 year, had such a huge impact on science and technology.
It is incredible.
What drove him to just keep pushing the boundaries of knowledge?
Well, Einstein was really this relentless seeker of truth. He
Hmm.
was always striving to understand the universe better.
Yeah.
And he wasn't content with just special relativity. He spent years developing his theory of general relativity, which was even more revolutionary.
Right, because general relativity explains gravity
Yes.
as a curvature of space-time.
Exactly.
That's such an abstract concept to me. Like, how did he even begin to develop this theory?
Einstein was a master of thought experiments.
Okay.
He would visualize these complex situations to really think through his ideas.
Oh, interesting.
So picture a bowling ball on a trampoline. It makes a dip, right? That dip represents how the bowling ball's mass distorts space-time. That's basically how general relativity describes gravity.
Okay.
Not as a force, but as the geometry of space-time itself.
So it wasn't just about equations and calculations. It was about using his imagination
Exact.
to really unravel the mysteries of the universe.
Right.
But did his theories actually get validated?
They did. One of the biggest confirmations came during a total solar eclipse in 1919.
Hmm.
Scientists watched as starlight passed close to the sun,
Okay.
and they saw that the light bent exactly as Einstein predicted.
Wow.
It was this huge moment that made him world famous. This theoretical physicist became a household name.
Like from patent clerk to a scientific icon.
I
It
know.
was quite a journey.
Yeah.
But Einstein wasn't just a physicist. He was also very involved with social and political issues.
Right. He was a vocal pacifist, and he believed in social justice.
I'm curious to explore that side of him a bit more.
Absolutely.
His humanitarian work and his views on politics and even his personal life as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to unpack about this fascinating guy.
We were talking about Einstein's work in physics, but I'm also really interested in his life beyond science.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned that he was a pacifist and a social activist. Can you tell me about some of his, key stances and actions in these areas?
So Einstein, he really believed in the interconnectedness of all people. And he advocated for peace and social justice.
Okay.
He was very critical of militarism, especially when Nazi Germany was on the rise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he also spoke out against racism and prejudice, even in the United States. When he came here, he saw racial segregation firsthand.
Yeah. And his views on Zionism were really nuanced, right?
They were.
He supported the movement, but didn't totally agree with a Jewish state based just on nationality.
Right. He supported the Zionist movement, especially in its efforts to create a cultural and academic center for Jewish people. He even helped raise funds for the Hebrew University in Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
But he imagined a more inclusive society in Palestine, where Jews and Arabs could live together peacefully,
I see.
rather than a state based solely on nationality.
So that's really interesting, and it shows how his principles kind of guided his actions even on these really complicated political issues.
Definitely.
He was even offered the presidency of Israel, and he turned it down.
That's right. He felt that he could contribute to humanity better through his scientific work
Yeah.
and his humanitarian efforts. He didn't think he was the right person to be in a political role.
Amidst all of the science and the politics, Einstein also had a deep love for music.
Oh, yeah.
What role did music play in his life?
Well, he was a passionate violinist. And he found a lot of joy in playing chamber music with friends.
Okay.
It wasn't just a hobby for him, it was a really important part of his life.
Yeah.
He even thought that music helped him with his scientific thinking, finding connections and harmonies in both.
It's fascinating how everything was connected for him in a way.
It really is.
He even jammed with Charlie Chaplin once.
I know, right?
Which is pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
But as we kind of move into his later years, what were some of the things that happened?
Well, his quest for a unified field theory took up a lot of his time. He wanted to find one framework that could explain all the fundamental forces of nature.
That's a big goal.
It is. It's a huge goal. And unfortunately, it was a quest that he wasn't able to finish.
Wow. So even a genius like Einstein faced unsolved mysteries and unfulfilled ambitions.
Oh, absolutely.
But his work on that wasn't all for nothing.
Right now, not at all.
What did it lead to?
His efforts laid the groundwork for later developments in physics, like string theory,
Okay.
which tries to answer that same question, how to unify everything.
Yeah.
So even when he didn't find the answer, he pushed scientific thought forward.
It's really amazing.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's World War II and his complicated role in the development of the atomic bomb.
Right.
How did he deal with that, being a pacifist?
That's a really complex and tragic part of his life.
Yeah.
While he didn't work on the Manhattan Project directly, he did sign a letter to President Roosevelt urging him to start research into nuclear weapons. He was afraid that Nazi Germany would develop it first.
Oh, okay.
And he saw it as something necessary, like a deterrent to stop them.
I see. But he later regretted that decision, didn't he?
He did. He saw what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And it really affected him, the consequences of atomic warfare.
That makes sense.
He became a strong advocate for getting rid of nuclear weapons,
Yeah.
because he understood the danger they posed to everyone.
Well, his famous quote, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War II will be fought with sticks and stones," is really powerful.
It is.
It shows how much he understood,
Yeah, the gravity of the situation and his commitment to peace and disarmament.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about the two sides of scientific progress.
Yeah,
The potential for good, but also the potential for destruction.
absolutely.
But even with all of that going on, Einstein never really seemed to lose that playfulness and his intellectual curiosity.
That's true. Even when he was dealing with really tough challenges and issues,
Yeah.
he never stopped exploring the universe and wanting to understand it.
I read this story about him working on a really difficult problem.
Uh-huh.
And somebody asked him why he kept going, even though he might not find the answer.
Right.
And he said, "I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details." And I just think that's such a powerful statement about
Yeah.
his drive to understand how the universe works at its most fundamental level.
It really shows how he saw science as a way to understand the big picture. to
Yeah.
try to see the creator's plan for everything.
Hmm.
It wasn't just about formulas and theories for him. It was about something much bigger.
Even after he died, his brain was studied.
Yeah.
Like scientists were looking for a physical explanation for his genius.
Right.
But maybe genius isn't just about the structure of your brain.
I agree.
Maybe it's a combination of talent and hard work and a constant curiosity about the world.
Definitely. Einstein's life is a great example of that.
Yeah.
He had a unique way of thinking, but he also put in the effort and wasn't afraid to question everything.
He wasn't scared to ask why.
Exactly. And he pushed the limits of what we knew.
His dedication to peace and social justice, his love for music,
Right.
and even the difficulties he faced later in life.